Welcome to SuperCrowd Chicago, live in person at Columbia College Chicago and streaming live internationally on the E360 TV network and across social media. Next on our program, and I feel like I'm bragging when I say what a great program, but I have nothing to do with it. I'm just lucky to know a few good people. But what an exceptional roster we've had today. And next on our roster is Bill Huston. And Bill's name has come up, I don't know how many times today. People have mentioned Bill because he is helping them one way or another with the work that they're doing in crowdfunding. And so I'm really honored to introduce Bill. Bill has been an advisor to SuperCrowd Inc. For the past couple of years. We've used him as an invaluable resource. He and I are both advisors to another company called Raiseway. He just really is an industry titan himself. But he's an Inc. magazine top 19 global crowdfunding expert, has managed or consulted on crowdfunding campaigns raising over $700,000 since 2021. I'm sure it's more now. He served as a content consultant for Rutgers University's crowdfunding with Impact Program and is a founding member of the Black Crowdfunding Coalition. So with that, let me turn the time over to Bill.
Hello, everyone. Really like to thank you for coming out, supporting SuperCrowd. I think that what Devin is doing and the work that he's doing really has an enormous opportunity to change the world, right? To change the economy, the way we live in the economy, the way we engage with the economy. Really like what Brian was just talking about. How we can start to look at stakeholders as opposed to, stockholders, right? And what that looks like. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Bill Huston. I'm a board member at NC3, the National Coalition for Community Capital. I'm also a board member for the CFPA, Crowdfunding Professional Association. I've been in the crowdfunding space since about 2011. I started when it was just rewards crowdfunding. And then I moved into investment crowdfunding. They used to call it equity crowdfunding. I like to call it investment crowdfunding because it's not just equity. Since 2021, I've actually worked on 15 campaigns. 13 of those campaigns have been successful. Raised over $1.7 million. And for me, that's something that's been huge. And the reason it's been huge is because the way crowdfunding came to me was we had a company that was called City Life Local Foods. And this was around 2007, 2008. And my son and I, who's here today in the audience, we had this company. And, what we did was we did farmers markets. And we also used something called a personalized local food basket where people would pay online, and then we would deliver to their workspace, their personalized local food basket. So as that started to take off and we started to become more successful, we needed some capital to grow. So we went out to look for capital. We really couldn't find any capital. What happened with the city of Louisville at the time, they said, well, they'll write us into a grant. And, we didn't get written into the grant. We didn't get any money and things kind of fell apart. Well, fast forward to about 2019, 2020, there was a company called Roots and Vines. And you all are going to love this here because Roots and Vines actually on the south side of Chicago. And Miss Ina Jones, she raised on Buy the Block. She didn't raise a lot of money, but, she raised enough to get her company successful, to get the campaign successful. And, from there, she was able to really grow the company. The company still exists. They're still getting local food to people on the south side. And the difference between what Ms. Jones was able to do and what it was that my son and I weren't able to do was crowdfunding, right? We could not access capital. We went to the people that we thought we could get capital from. We couldn't do it. What she was able to do is she was able to go directly to people who were going to benefit from the capital that she raised and from her business and raise the capital. And, that concept is just a very powerful story for me. And it's something that drives me and keeps me really humble, but hopeful. that, if you are able to engage a community of investors and take that social capital and turn it into financial capital, you can be successful. As Brian was talking about, having people who are going to benefit from your product, right? Having them to invest and be vested in that product, and also being a customer, and also being the biggest brand ambassador for your business, because it's not just your business now, it's their business, right? Because they have a financial benefit tied to it. And that's something that's really, really important. And I always love to tell that story. And that's why I started out with that story, because it's really close to home for me. It really hits close to home. And it's, something that I saw that impacted my life in a negative. It impacted the lives of the people on the south side of Chicago and Miss Jones and all the stakeholders in a very positive way. So when I first came into the investment crowdfunding space, it was working very closely with Buy the Block, which at the time was the first, and at that time the only Black female-owned Reg CF platform. And everything was really new, and everybody was learning, right? Everybody was learning. Probably didn't tell the clients that, but everybody was learning at that time. And we had some really interesting raises. In 2020, the platform was one of the top 10 platforms for dollars raised. They had two exciting raises. That were one was the first real estate focused company, was called the Huston Fifth Ward Project. It raised over $1 million. And there was another project called Buy the Block Baton Rouge, which raised $500,000. And, working with, with Linda to create some marketing strategies for them was really exciting. And to really see that happen was great. Came 2021, February 2021, maybe March 2021. You became able to raise $5 million during COVID. Businesses were able to raise $250,000, without having to have their financials reviewed. So things really exploded during that period for me. I had an opportunity to work with Rutgers University with Lanier Richardson, again from Chicago Trends. And, one of the companies that went through that program, and I just want to kind of highlight POCstock, because POCstock was able to successfully raise $134,000 on WeFunder platform. And then, a few months later, they were able to raise $500,000 from venture capital. And just recently, I saw that they just signed a partnership to provide images to Canva. So that's a real success story. And that's a success story that was driven by crowdfunding. So I know crowdfunding works. I know that if people get in, they can invest. They can become investors. Real quick side note: I invested in a company. I think it was at SuperCrowd. It was the SuperCrowd, the virtual SuperCrowd event, and I just got an email today or yesterday, and the company, they just closed their campaign and they raised $121 million for a wine company. Without that, right, without crowdfunding, that money would have never been able to be deployed to that founder, right? It was a Black female, and that money would have never been able to be deployed. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to participate in that. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit today, a real little bit, is I realize I talked that long. So I'm going to talk a little bit about real estate crowdfunding, and how real estate crowdfunding can be a real game changer. So the first thing I want to talk about is NC3, National Coalition for Community Capital, and they have developed Diversified Community Investment Fund. And what I love about that Diversified Community Investment Fund, why I think it's such a great idea, is that it allows you to invest 60% or deploy 60% of the capital that you raise into real estate, and the other 40 can be deployed into business. Why is that important, and why do I think that is going to drive real estate, especially in affordable housing? Because I believe that real estate and affordable housing, right, has to be equitable housing. right? No one wants to live in a community where there are no opportunities, right? Where I just live in a house that's cheap and it's low income. People want to live in housing where it is cheap, but or at least they can afford it. But there's also opportunities, right? So there need to be businesses developed. There need to be, local businesses at the community level, where people can actually move in there. So, but not only move in there, but have the opportunity to get employment, to find employment, in their community, right? So the community that I live in Louisville is, it's all the way to the west of the far end. And that community, this is some old data from about 2020, but so there was $500 million in retail spend in that community. And over 70% of that, right, was retail leakage. And, my question is always, what would that community look like if that leakage was 60%, if it was 65%, right? I'm not saying to eliminate the leakage, but if we reduce that leakage, if we kept dollars in the community, being able to be circulated to create jobs, what would the communities look like? And I think it's important when we think about affordable housing that we also think about making that housing something that is equitable, something where people want to live, something where people have opportunities. And I think that the Diversified Community Investment Fund is going to make that possible. Really looking forward to moving forward with a couple people, two of them here in the room, Carl Darkin, is that right? Dakin. So we're working on a project where we're going to create a Diversified Community Investment Fund. And, we're going to work at the community level to hopefully catalyze other income, other investment from bigger players, and also working with proactive funds. I think you all have heard Dr. Williams today. And, we're actually working, to raise that capital. Right now, we're working on a single raise. But the goal is, later this year, after completing the first raise, is to be able to use that Diversified Community Investment Fund to actually, raise capital where we can not only create affordable housing, but we can create opportunities in those communities where we create the affordable housing. And Devin, is it okay if I open for a question?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Any questions? No hard ones. Yes, sir.
You looked at funding any manufacturing?
I'm sorry.
Just retail manufacturing produce things?
Absolutely. What kind of businesses, can be put in there? Absolutely. Absolutely. Really looking at businesses that are going to be valuable in those communities. Manufacturing could absolutely be something that could be valuable in a particular community, even with smaller makers, right? It doesn't have to be, Ford that come into the community. It could be smaller makers that are making products that are going to sell that people want and need. Yes, sir.
Could you talk about so affordable housing? I hear that all the time, and I've gone to various events where I hear architects talking about it, and then I find out affordable housing, by their definition, is not what I would call affordable housing. It's incredibly expensive. So could you talk about, are there any success stories that you could talk about with crowdfunding related to affordable housing? Because, the need for affordable housing is so huge in this country. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. So two I can talk about. One of them goes back to that Fifth Ward project in Houston, which directly used regulation crowdfunding. They started to pay a dividend, and I know this will make Devin smile. They started to pay a dividend about 18 months into, them receiving the money, right? After they raised it and received it, they started to pay a 4% dividend. So they were returning capital, to the people who invested. The people who invested were mostly people who came from the community. They were able to keep people in their homes, right? They did some renovation to those properties, but they were able to keep people in their homes. And I think that is a great story, right? You can kind of look that up online. The Houston Fifth Ward project with Chris Senegal. And again, I want to point out and highlight something that I never thought about, but is very interesting is Dr. Van Williams. And what he's doing is he's doing that with some modular homes, right? Going in and And if there is no building there, or if the building is in disrepair, eliminating that and putting in modular homes. And he's actually done a couple of modular home parks where he has done the whole thing, right? Removed the properties, upgraded the properties, put in new homes. But most importantly, or maybe not most importantly, but importantly, he has been able to return to investors a decent return for it, right? So it's not like you're getting 1 or 2% return, but you're getting a decent return on the money, and you're getting affordable housing where people can live and increasing home ownership. I don't see anything on that. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we better get on with the next one. But Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you.